Okay, now I need money to buy this and stock it with me. So I need to buy 100 iPhones or 200 iPhones and keep it in my shop so that I can sell it to people. But I want someone to finance me for buying this. Let's say I go to one bank and get a loan and tell that these assets are available in my shop and I'm giving it to you for hypothecation. You can hypothecate the stock and give me a loan of whatever, let's say 5 crore or 10 crore, whatever. And with the same assets, I go to another bank. I have my ways of presenting it to them. And I take loan from them also. So taking financial assistance against the same asset from different sources. Overstatement of asset value and income. So when you look at financials, I'm sure you have prepared balance sheets and profit and loss account. What if, just to tell the shareholders that the company has made very high profits, I simply increase the sales? Because people who know accounting know very well, isn't it? Or sales entry and buddhimuttundo. It's very easy, alle. Sales account debtor to party. Put an entry on 31st March for 1 crore rupees and show sales. On 1st April, you reverse it. So your profit and loss account looks very rosy. Or let's say you have incurred certain expenditure, but you don't show those expenditure at all. You put some other journal entry and square it off. Your profit looks very rosy. That is known as overstatement of assets or overstatement of income. Understatement of liabilities. Let's say I have taken loans from private parties and I don't show those loans at all. So my shareholder thinks that I have not taken any loans. Understatement of liabilities. Concealment of vital information or weakness. I know that my factory is going to shut down next year and I have not disclosed this in my financial statements anywhere. In my financial statements, I have given statements such as the company has got many plans for the future. We are going to increase the production by 50% next year. And the future looks very bright. Whereas the fact is that there is a very serious issue in the factory and I'll have to shut down next year. So concealment of vital information. False certifications, unrealistic projections of future growth. The moment you want to take a loan from a bank, every bank asks for projected financial statements. What are projected financial statements? The bank basically wants to know what is your plan in future. How do you think your business is moving? How do you think you will grow? And I say, sir, every year I am going to increase my sales 20%. Whereas my expenses are going to increase only by 5%. So there's going to be a 15% jump in the profits every year, year on year. And in 5 days, I will reach the moon. That is how most of the project reports look like. That is how most of the forecasts look like. But then in more often than not, unless the bank manager, unless the people sitting on the other side carefully go through these forecasts, what happens? You believe in these forecasts and you lend money to the person thinking that this is the way he is going to make profits. And later on, very soon you find that he is not able to repay the loans. Teaming up with officers of the financial institutions and banks. This is something very commonly seen. I'm not saying everyone sitting in financial institutions and banks are corrupt. But then more often than not, we find that especially in the financial institution sectors and banking sectors, the people inside are also involved in frauds. Because otherwise, if the team is very strong, it is very difficult for a customer or a borrower to defraud any financial institution, because internal controls prescribed in these organizations. I must vouch for what Ganesh sir had mentioned, that the regulations which the RBI follows, has stated today, the RBI guidelines, not only RBI, the Securities Exchange Board of India, SEBI, and our regulators have made it very watertight. It's extremely difficult to perpetrate unless the people behind the counter are also involved. Now coming to something a little lighter, perhaps more interesting. We spoke about big corporate frauds because you're all learning banking and finance. That is why I gave some of the examples which are more related to that area. But look at simple things like bribery. Very simple things. Let us take the example of, let's say I am the purchase manager of a chemical factory. Alright, purchase manager of a chemical factory. So I require raw materials. And let's say the raw material is available at 80 rupees per kilo. But I go to the supplier and I say, you sell it at 90, don't sell it at 80. You sell it at 90. The company will pay you 90. Now why would I say that? When I'm getting it for 80 per kilo, why, as a purchase manager, why would I go and meet him privately? I'll take him along for a movie, we both will go and watch GOAT together. We'll have dinner together and I'll tell him, don't quote 80 to the company, quote 90. The company is more than willing to take it for 90. And I go to the company and I say, the material is available only for 100 rupees. With a lot of difficulty, with a lot of bargaining, I have found someone who's ready to give it at 90. So the company is very happy with me. Wow, this guy has done a great job. Now, raw materials are normally available only at 100 rupees per kilo. He has found someone to supply it at 90. The company gives me an award that I am one of the most efficient managers in that company. And the contract is signed. Huge transactions happen. And on every kilo purchased by the company, there is a 10 rupees extra which I make under the table from the supplier. There is somebody else, there is an intermediary who helps me in between. I pay him 5 rupees per kilo. I keep 5 rupees per kilo. Everyone is happy in the bargain, isn't it? The supplier is happy, the company is happy, I am happy, my friend is happy. So it's all a win-win situation. Isn't that a fraud? So bribery takes many forms. This is just one example. Conflict of interest. Why is there conflict of, what do you mean by conflict of interest? Can anybody tell me what is conflict of interest? Personal interest. How will my personal interest be affected? Let's go by the same example. Purchase manager of a chemical factory. And I am not buying at 90 rupees. I am going with the 80 rupees only. Let's say I am being very good here. I am going with the 80 rupees alone. But I ensure that the contract is signed with X. There is an X, there is a Y. There are two people who have given the contracts. Both are giving at 80 rupees. But the quality of the product that Y is supplying is slightly better. Or perhaps really better than the quality of the goods given by X. But both are giving it at 80 rupees. But I go with X. I recommend to the company that X has got a history of 30 years of supply. He will not default. His products are top class. His product is actually better than the product of Y. And he's giving it at the same price. So let us purchase it from X. Now who is X? X is, let's say, my brother-in-law. Alright. Do you see an issue there? Conflict of interest.